So over the years, I've gone through a few difficult things, probably more than a few. A lot of them were because of my own bad choices, because of the way I wanted to live my life, because of the fact that I couldn't listen to anybody else. But others were not my fault. And I think that if I had to choose, I'd choose the first set of problems because I can do something about those. Like if I'm the problem, I can fix it. I've said that on here a bunch of times. Being the problem is a good thing. But I've learned from the things that are not my fault as well. I've learned from the things that are beyond my control, because that's where you really have to be creative in how you deal with things. That's where you have to lean in, and that's where you learn acceptance and patience and all of those kind of good things. The thing that I've been thinking about lately, because I'm doing this course on anxiety and how to deal with it and how you can change your relationship with it and all that stuff, is I go back to the end of, I think it was the end of 2022. Man, I woke up one morning and the world I went to bed in, the world I woke up in were two completely different places. I went to bed in a normal life, reasonable, some anxiety, just normal life stuff. I woke up the next morning with my heart rate through the roof, my blood pressure through the roof, trembling, this just incredible sense of profound fear. I would even say terror. I was trembling all the time, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. It was miserable. And I tried to do everything I could. I know how to deal with anxiety. I know how to deal with that stuff. I was a therapist for years. I've had it since I was a kid. So I did all the healthy things that I could. I changed my diet. I started exercising more. I pulled back from work, especially the public facing stuff like this and my blog and the newsletter and all this different stuff. And none of it helped. None of it helped. Eventually it got so bad that I reached out to my doctor. I remember I was sitting watching Christmas movies with my kids. And we're just sitting there watching movies, and I felt this sense of dread bordering on panic, just creep over me. And I heard a voice in my head very distinctly say, "Those are not your children. They're imposters and they're going to murder you." I heard this in my head, not a voice. I want to be clear. I wasn't hearing voices, but it was this very clear thought. And in that moment, I knew something was wrong. This is where I was so grateful for the years of mindfulness and of knowing my thoughts and of knowing myself, because that really hit me that, oh, something's wrong here. So I immediately messaged my doctor through this app that I have, and he got back to me pretty quickly and said, "Hey, I have an idea what's going on. I need you to come in for a blood test." Turns out my thyroid had gone haywire, just insanely haywire. And we started working on it. So that was cool. It was fortunate that I had a doctor. I've never had a doctor in my life. A lot of things came together to make it where I was able to get the help I needed. But we had about 6 to 8 months before we were able to really rein it in. The medicine they gave me took a while to get therapeutic, and then it would still, it'd still be real bad some days. It would swing others that swung into hypothyroid for a while. And all of this was because it took about 10 months to get in to see an endocrinologist. It was really hard to get in. So even after finding out what was wrong, I still had a lot of time that I had to deal with it. I had to sort it out. I don't know that I can exaggerate how bad this time was. I would sit paralyzed in a chair for a whole days at a time. When I started being able to do stuff, the only thing I could do was read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John on a loop. And at this time in my life, I didn't read the Bible. I didn't have really an engagement with any kind of Christian stuff at all. And so that was unusual. I was trembling all the time. I was shedding weight. Every once in a while, I would get so tired from all of it that I would fall asleep for 15, 20 minutes, but then I would wake up, and the second I woke up, that dread, that realization that, this is life right now would wash over me. It was miserable. And there's lingering effects from it. I mean, I've said it before on here, it aged my face. I started losing my hair. Now I'm having to go get a test done because they think it's messing with my bones or my muscle or something, because I just stay slightly hyperthyroid. So this has been an ongoing thing since then. But in that period where I had to figure out a way to manage it, when I had to figure out what to do while the medication became therapeutic and we waited for the endocrinologist and all of that, one of the practices I found, it was transformative. It was so helpful, and I wanted to share it with you today because it's just been something that has transformed my life. And when I tell people about this, I tell them in mindset calls and in the groups I work with, I always hear back from somebody that said oh my gosh, this really changed everything. And I want to be clear, this exercise is about learning to recognize what's going right. It's not toxic positivity. It's not pretending like nothing's wrong. And it's important because our brains have a negativity bias. If you've watched this podcast for long, you know this. Our brains are going to notice the things that are going to hurt us. If you go through a certain intersection every single day for 10 years, and then in one of those times you're going through, you get T-boned, your brain is going to think of that because that's the thing that could harm you. It's going to forget all the things that went right. And that's okay. That's what keeps us alive. But if this is the middle, if this is like really, looking at things as neutral, and this is where things go wrong and this is where everything goes right, our brains are way over here. So it's okay for us to stake out some space on the other side to help kind of even that narrative out. And the way that I found to do this was by just consciously noticing how many things go right in every moment. I was religious. I was probably militant about this for a while when my thyroid was going nuts, because it was the only thing that was keeping my head above water. It was absolutely miserable at that time. And so I started doing this. And I just started, as I really studied this, I was amazed at how many things go right. Like, one of the things I really remember was one day driving to my doctor's office. And what I'd done was I'd gotten a little lap counter and I would click it. And I would just click it to see every time something went right. I would just give it a little click. And by the time I got to my doctor, I had a bunch. I don't remember how many now. But it was a bunch, because it would be like, oh, my car started, click. It got into reverse, click. Oh, I have a car. Oh, I live in a time period where we have cool technological innovations like cars. Oh, I live in a neighborhood with sidewalks. Oh, I live in a country that has electricity. Oh, there's people taking care of their kids. How cool. Oh, there's people walking their dog. It's cool that we're a species that takes care of other species. Oh, I made it through the four-way stop without getting hit. Oh, I changed lanes without getting hit. Like, as you count the number of things that go right, it's amazing how many go right. And they outweigh the things that go wrong by a massive factor. There's no way around that. If it wasn't true, we would all be dead. And so to this day, I still make a point to notice that. I don't really carry my clicker all the time, but I do make a point to notice how many things go right. One of the things I like to do on like hard days is just notice how many things went right in the first 5 seconds of my day. Like, if you think about this, if you live in a country that has the infrastructure, reasonable infrastructure, and you have a home and you have the things that like we kind of consider normal, then a lot goes right when in the first 5 seconds of your day. Your eyes open. That's huge. The very fact that you come into consciousness, the fact that you have a consciousness is a gift. The fact that you are alive is a gift. Like, I know sometimes it sucks and sometimes it's hard, but like, life is a gift and none of us did anything to earn it. We just woke up with it one day. So the fact that you have something to open your eyes to is huge. And then the fact that your eyes work. If your phone is your alarm, then first of all, you have the privilege of having a phone. You live in a country, or you live in a time period where those things are available to us. Your alarm went off like it was supposed to, so you're not going to be late. You're probably in at least a comfortable bed, maybe not the most comfortable, but you're in a bed, you're safe. There's a good chance you're in a structure that protects you. That structure is probably climate controlled to some degree. Gravity continued to work throughout the night. Your house didn't burn down throughout the night. Nobody robbed you throughout the night. The world didn't end throughout the night. And this is all just in the first 5 seconds. The fact that you can move your arm over to turn your phone off means you didn't wake up paralyzed. Your body works the way you need it to. And it just builds from there. It builds from there. If you get up and walk, well, cool. Your body got up and walked. That's amazing. There's some people who can't do that. There's some people who've never been able to do that. And here's the wild thing. The people who I talk to who, like, some of these things, like not having a house to wake up in, not having the climate control, not having a bed, not being able to move their arms, not being able to move their body the way they need to, not having an alarm, man, those people are often the most grateful, happiest people I've ever known. They have such a different perspective on life. And don't get me wrong, some of them are miserable, and it makes sense, and I get it, and I probably would be too. I think that's a level of mindset and intentionality that I don't have, but I see this all the time. In my work as a therapist, I worked with a lot of low socioeconomic people who are struggling, who had just very hard things in their life, and they often had the deepest sense of gratitude. They had the most balanced perspective on how things were. They had a realistic aspect to them that a lot of other people don't have. And so I tell you all that because I'm telling you, there's a good chance that no matter where you are and what you're going through in life, you can do this. I will also guarantee you, no matter where you are and what's going on in your life, more things go right than go wrong. But this is so prevalent and so true that we don't notice it. Think about, there's something as simple as driving. First of all, owning a car, this giant, amazing contraption, this technological marvel that we all seem to have these days, that travels at speeds that our ancestors would be terrified by, couldn't even fathom. And I'm talking our ancestors of 100 years ago would be blown away by the cars we drive. The cars we drive are so safe these days. If you get in a wreck, there's a really good chance you're going to survive. They're so comfortable, climate controlled, and you get to, like, I can listen to Spotify on my car, and the maps tell you exactly where to go. You can make it hotter, you can make it colder. My seats, this car I got recently, well, it's been a year and a half, 2 years now. Like, the seats heat up and they have air conditioning on the seats. It comes through all these little holes. It's really cool. And so there's that, but then also the fact that it starts. Like, I mean, this is like, it's like somebody explained to me, it's pretty much like a controlled explosion, and that's how it starts, and that's what the gasoline's for. I don't know shit about cars. I don't know why I chose this as the example, but they're pretty amazing. And then the fact that, like, more often than not, they start. I had, like, back in the day, I had cars that didn't run real well and things like that, but they still started more often than not. Like, even when it was like they only, if they only started 95% of the time, it was still nerve-wracking every time I'd turn it, But, I mean, they work more often than not. For every time you've been in a wreck, there have been thousands and thousands of trips where you haven't. For every time you've changed lanes and almost hit somebody or somebody almost hit you, there's been thousands of times that you haven't. But the brain is going to notice the times that it didn't go the way it should. I drive out of my neighborhood and get onto this access road around the loop in my city like 5 or 6 mornings a week. I do it all the time. 2 weeks ago, I was flying down the access road and somebody cut across all 4 lanes and almost hit me. Now, I saw him. I'm a very defensive driver because of the number of wrecks I've been in. So I saw him, so I was ready. And I barely missed him, though. I still barely missed him. Cut between them and like this like curb where the bridge is. And I'm telling you, every time I've gone by there since then, that's what my brain remembers. My brain's watching out for that. That makes sense because that's what could harm me. Like, mathematically or statistically, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's not how our brains work. They're going to focus on the thing that they need to focus on to keep us alive. And so I've noticed that. But I've also, because I've trained my brain to be this way, I was instantly, like, I wasn't angry at the person. I understand people make mistakes. And I was instantly grateful that it didn't turn into a wreck, because it would have been a bad one. That would have been a really bad wreck. But my brain is still going to think about it. My brain is still going to go back to that because that's what the brain does. That's how the brain tries to keep us safe. So you've got to be aware of that negativity bias. Once you are aware of it, you can start staking out ground on the other side to have an intentional positivity bias or to notice what goes right. This is not, once again, this is not toxic positivity. This is not about pretending that shit doesn't go wrong, because shit goes wrong. It goes wrong all the time. But it goes right so much more often. If that wasn't true, none of us would be here. You would not be watching this. I would not be speaking to you. This would all be over if more went wrong than right. Anybody that tells you more goes wrong in their life than goes right is not paying attention in the way that I'm asking you to train yourself to pay attention right now. They are not paying attention because it's just impossible for more to go wrong than right and you still to be alive. For you to be born, somebody had to consent to carry you in their body long enough for you to survive outside of it. Maybe you were neglected, maybe you were not treated well as a child. Somebody still consented to take care of you enough to keep you alive, because humans are useless until they're like 4 and they can't take care of themselves at that age. So just for you to be here, like, things went right. A lot of things went right. I think what we tend to do is we look at the ideal or we look at the optimal thing, and then we get stuck on that instead of looking at the things that go right. So give this a try. Just choose to spend certain periods of time that you're going to either notice everything that's going right or you're going to catalog what's gone right up to that point in your day. If you want to get a clicker, do it. But I like to do it where I look at the first 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years. And as you look back and you're only looking for the things that go right, you will find that you are overwhelmed by the number of things that continually go right and do not go wrong. I mean, it's actually shocking how many things go right. Document it with a clicker. What's cool about that is that, number one, it keeps a running count for you, but that behavioral thing of doing this really locks it into your mind. One of the things I do if I notice I'm criticizing or complaining is I just get this little metal bracelet I have, and every time I catch myself doing that, I just move it from one wrist to the other. Stole that from some book, so don't think I'm taking credit for it. But that little behavioral motion of doing that really changes everything because you're attaching a behavior to it. So clicking that clicker makes a big difference. I'm sure there's an app you could do it for, you could use as well, but give this a try. Give yourself permission just to notice how many things go right and see how that changes your life. You'll still be aware of the things that go wrong. You aren't going to turn into some wide-eyed idiot who can't live their life. That's not going to happen. But it will allow you to be more in line with reality, and it's going to give your anxiety and your fear and all the things that they are cramming down our throat 24/7 these days, it'll allow that to turn down just a little. So just give it a try. Give it a try. Count how many things go right today, or count how many things have already gone right. Do this, look at your whole life in those terms and just see what that does for your perspective on all of this and see how that changes how you feel about things.